Hey, welcome back to the Positive Side Podcast. Glad you're tuning in. The office is coming along. You see the blue wall in the back, but that's not why we're here today. Solo episode of the Positive Side Podcast. Man, I'm just so glad you're tuning in. We've got so many hundreds of thousands of downloads all around the world and slowly but surely coming together. My new desk is going to be here next week. It's just going to be so cool. Like it's going to be an official podcast studio. I don't know if I'm going to put like sound things up here and stuff like that, but I'm just glad you're part of the journey. I'm gonna do a YouTube video here this weekend and kind of show you where like the start to finish and show you actually what I'm working with here. It's hilarious. I promise you, if you're in your car, don't watch this because you'll crash laughing. It's that bad, but it's okay, right? It's okay. It's just part of the journey that we're going through. It's all good in the hood. It's just going to make this show that much better when we actually have guests live. And I'm really looking forward to that. So if you're in the area, if you're not in the area, if you want to fly in, check it out, get on the show. Dope as hell. Let's do it. Let's rock and roll. One of the things that makes this podcast so successful is the actual, the honesty and the authenticity. And one of the things I do a lot, and I think this is something that's very, very important, that we do more self-reflection. I came up with this list about self-reflection, and really there's just 5 topics. I'm not really sure what's going to end up being called, but I put down 5 ways to self-reflect, but these are 5 ways that can really make a big difference. So if you're at a point in your life where you kind of need to figure out what's going on, where you're going, what you're going to do, where do you see yourself in 5 years or next week, whatever the case is, sometimes you feel like, you know what, I got to get my shit together. And hopefully this episode will allow you to kind of plan that out, because it's easier to just say, well, I got to figure it out. But how do you figure it out, right? So let's figure it out right now. Number 1, God, I love my list, don't you? Number 1, you got to schedule the time. This was kind of cool too, because when you talk about scheduling the time to have self-reflection, typically you're like, well, I need to self-reflect. And you start rubbing your hands together. You're like, yeah. And then it never happens, ever. One of the reasons being, and there's multiple reasons, but one of the big reasons is that it's not intentional, right? It's not like you're setting out and say, okay, this is the time that I'm going to do it. A great time to do this is Sunday nights. I think Sunday nights is probably the best day to self-reflect, either Sunday nights or even like a Monday morning early, like waking up early. But the point of the thing is you got to schedule it. You actually need to physically plan a day. Say this Sunday, I'm going to spend some time to do some self-reflection. I'm going to figure out where I am in this game of life, what's going on in my life, and try and figure out where I want to go, where I'm at, and where I'm going to go. It's also good to figure out where you've been, right? And we're going to get into that here as well. But you've got to be intentional about the time that you're going to spend doing it. Because if you're not intentional about the time, again, and I'm sure you're shaking your head, yes, if you're in the car, listening to this wherever, yeah, I get it, because I've talked about it for so many years and so many times that it just never, ever happens. We got to be intentional about it. So put it in your schedule, put it on a Sunday night, put it on a Monday morning. I feel those are the best. But if it's a Wednesday, if you work different hours, whatever the case is, most importantly, be intentional. Number 2, I think meditation is huge. I say it all the time in the podcast. I mean, I probably mentioned this damn meditation, and I don't know, 2-3 times. Oh, well, probably more than that. Probably 5-6 times a month about how important meditation is. Meditation doesn't have to be this grandiose scheme and kumbaya with bells and chimes and lotions and candles and all that stuff. It doesn't have to be any of that. Your meditation could be totally you. It could be at the gym. It could be for a long walk. It could be sitting in silence. You guys know that that's what I love to do, is just sit in silence. Close my eyes and just let it go. Let the time, let focus on my breathing and just let everything just melt away. I promise you, when you do that, and if you get through all the cloudiness, all the bullshit that's going on in your life, all of a sudden you get this sense of being, of where you're at in your life. And it's so refreshing. It's so beautiful and so new. You come up with new ideas about, maybe I should work on this. Maybe I should do that. Or maybe I reacted in a bad way in this situation. And then you come out of the meditation with a new point of view and a new perspective. But meditation is a great way to kind of just grasp where you are at that moment, in that moment in life, where you are right now. And I'm telling you, the more you do it, the more you can actually get a hold of what's going on. If it's a chaotic day, if it's a slow day, whatever that day is, you actually get a better grasp of it. So the more you can meditate, and meditation could be 5 minutes. It could be 20 minutes. We talked to Flowing River the other day. He says he does 3 to 4 hours a day. Good for him. That's awesome. But your meditation has to be all about you. You don't need to try and compare your meditation to somebody else. That's one of the big things. It's like, how do I meditate? And get on your YouTube search or your Google search. How do I meditate? What to do to meditate? You don't have to do shit. Really, that's the whole point of meditation, is not doing anything. It could be sitting on your front porch and just staring out into the no man's land. With the world that we have now, it's so complicated and so many things going on with the music and podcasts and social media and our friends and work and kids and all that stuff going on. Sometimes just being silent and by yourself and just listening to birds is powerful enough. It allows you to grasp reality of where you are right now. Number 3, take that 5,000-foot view. That's one of my favorite things to do. Let's not look where we are right at this in our own little bubble, in our house, in our job. Let's take the big picture. Where have I come from? Where have I gone? What do I need to do better? The 5,000-foot view. Where do I see myself in 6 months, in a year, of 5 years? Because the higher you get, the further out you can see, right? So the higher you go up, the higher you get out of your own way, and you can look down and say, okay, I need to do this. I need to maybe work out more. I need to be more intentional about my workout. I want to quit smoking. My man, Daniel Walsh, has quit smoking. Much love to him. But there's all kinds of things you can do when you step out of the traffic and get above all of it and kind of see where you want to go. It's that metaphor I use all the time. You're walking through the woods and you got to get to the top of the mountain, but sometimes you can't see the top of the mountain. What you need to do is you need to climb the highest tree. This is where I've come. This is where I'm at. I can look down and see where I'm at right now, but this is where I need to go. How am I going to get there? What have I done to accomplish to get to the point where I am right now in my life? What have I accomplished? And where can I excel in those areas? I don't want to focus on the things that I do terribly, right? I mean, sure, you can do that every once in a while, but I want to maximize the things that I do best. So whatever that is, whatever that 5,000-foot view is, and you're like, you know what, I'm really good at that. Double down on the greatness. Double down on it. I mean, you might as well, if you're good at it, why walk away from it? Get better at it. Get better and better and better. And I promise you're going to move that mark that much faster. You're going to get to the end. So that 5,000-foot view is to look at everything that's going on in your life, celebrate the wins, and figure out what I'm doing the best and really maximize on that. Number 4, ask for an opinion. So easy, but so difficult. We used to do this thing back in the day with my friends, and this is back in like high school or just out of high school. We would have brutally honest night. And brutally honest night was brutal. We would just sit across from each other and be like, you know what? I think you drink too much. I think you party too much. I think the job that you're in sucks. I think the girl you're dating is terrible for you. And we would just be, it's that, and I'm not trying to say to be an asshole. I'm a little bit older now, and I don't expect people to be an asshole and call me out. But I think when you have a friend and when you have someone you can actually lean on and say, you know what? I'm in my life and I'm doing all these things. What is the one area of improvement that you see that I am completely oblivious to? You may be shocked. The one thing you have to do is you need to preface this conversation with this loved one and this friend, this whoever, that you're not going to take it personal and you're not going to get upset. That's easier said than done too. But if you're going to go into the situation in a mature way, you've got to be prepared to understand that someone's going to say something that's probably going to hurt your feelings, but it's coming from a place of love. For sure, it's coming from a place of love, and you've got to be ready for that. You've got to be understanding that this person is not trying to be an asshole to you. You ask for the opinion. You ask for their help. Then they tell you, and then you get upset. You just can't do it that way, my friends. You've got to be very, very intentional about your question and be real about it. Whatever answer they give to you, take it in. Don't respond. Don't defend yourself. That's another thing we always want to do. Hey, Jeremy, you're terrible at time management. Well, I'm really busy. I got a lot of things going on. That doesn't work. Jeremy, you're terrible with your schedule. Take a deep breath, reel it in. What should I do better? What are the things that I stick out in my schedule that aren't the best? How can I help? Can you help me with that? What do I need to do? What's the one glaring thing that I could get better at my schedule with? When you take the defense down and you check the ego at the door, you learn so much more about that self-reflection, about the chinks in your armor that we don't even see. It's like it's all the stuff that's right in our face. We can't see it because we're too busy looking in the future, but yet we're walking into the same brick wall every single day. We've got to be able to check that ego at the door and figure out and be okay with the answer that they give us. Number 5, just be real with yourself, my friends. Be real. Be real. And I say that with all honesty. If no matter what you're trying to go through, no matter what you're trying to say to yourself, if you're trying to, I'll use myself as an example. I like to go out for drinks and I'll go out for party, but I know for a fact when I go out that I will probably have too many. I'll drink. I've got no shutoff valve, right? I'm that guy. I've got this personality that is just go, 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 never stop. But whatever I do, I go all in at. But I've got to understand, I got to be real with myself that if I'm going to go out with a certain crowd of people or a certain night and start having drinks, I've got to understand that, Jeremy, you can't go out and have 50 drinks because this is the pattern that you fall into. So if I'm going to be real with myself and understand that even when I tell myself these things, most of the time I don't even accept it, right? It's not like, it's like, yeah, I know that, but then I'm like, I could do it. I can go out and have 6 and I can go home. I can't do that. I can't do that. Same thing with if it's food, if you're, it's, or a cigarette. I use my buddy Daniel. It's just 1 cigarette. I can just do 1. You're not being real with yourself. You know, it's not going to be 1. You know, it's going to be 1 and then 2, and then you're going to sell yourself and sell yourself. You continually sell yourself all the things that you know you shouldn't do because why? We're the best salesmen for ourselves. We know how to sell ourselves all the things that we don't need to do. It's extremely important to understand that. And when you do, when you realize that, you'll catch yourself in a conversation where, Jeremy, you're selling yourself. You know better. You should probably not do that. It's probably not a good idea, but you've got to be real with yourself. Let's go back through these 5 ways to self-reflect. Number 1, you got to schedule the time. It's extremely important. Be intentional about that time. Number 2, meditate, be alone, be quiet, be by yourself. Number 3, take that 5,000-foot view. See where you've come from, see where you're at, and see where you're going. Number 4, ask for an opinion. Check that ego at the door, because when you get an answer that you're not going to like, you got to be okay with it. And number 5, be real with yourself. The Positive Side Podcast, back and better than ever. Hey, did you know that I work with people one-on-one? I don't know if you know this, but I've helped quite a few people launch their podcast, launch their movement, get their mindset right, and I can work with you as well. Shoot me those emails, jeremy@jeremytodd.com. Find out how, find out why. We'll jump on a 30-minute phone call, see if it makes sense for you, see if it makes sense for me, and we'll rock and roll it. I promise you that. Got a lot of mindset coaching too. I've got several clients that I mindset coach with, which is just getting your head straight, right? It's like as you go out throughout the week, you go left, right, and all of a sudden you're way off track. Let's get that sucker dialed right back in. Let's get laser beam focused on getting that mindset right. And then I also work with people starting podcasts. So jeremy@jeremytodd.com. Leave those 5-star reviews. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You are the bomb. I love you more than you know will ever know. I say it in every single episode. You've got greatness within. Like always, this is The Positive Side.